A Chinese rocket is on its way to the moon with a mission to bring back rock samples back down to Earth.
And China has made history, successfully landing on the unexplored far side of the moon.
Since forever, the moon was humanity's silent companion, its secrets locked away in dusty craters and shadowed plains. But now, China's groundbreaking lunar missions have cracked open a vault of astonishing discoveries that could forever alter our understanding of Earth's celestial neighbor. Joe Rogan, known for cutting through the noise, says these findings don't just add to our knowledge, they change everything. What exactly did China uncover on the moon? The truth is more electrifying than anyone expected. Rogan has a knack for sensing when something big is happening, something that isn't just news, but a signal that the world is about to shift. And when he started talking about China's moon missions on his podcast, it wasn't with the usual conspiracy theories or sci-fi hype. It was with awe. Genuine, wide-eyed awe. Because here's the thing, when you strip away all the politics, all the flags, and all the drama, what's left is the raw, unfiltered truth. China went to the moon, found things we didn't expect, and changed what we thought we knew. That's the kind of stuff Joe lives for. In an episode where the moon came up, Joe made it clear, this isn't just a science story. It's a we are entering a new era of humanity story. We're talking about humans moving beyond Earth, not just sending rovers, but building bases, mining resources, and living off-world. It's no longer a question of if, but when. And China just sped up the timeline. A new power rises. When we think about moon landings, the first, and sometimes only, thing that comes to mind is Neil Armstrong's iconic step back in 1969. The US flag planted in the lunar soil, grainy black and white footage, and the Cold War-fueled race between the US and the Soviet Union. That era burned itself into the collective human story. But here's what you may not know. While much of the world has turned its attention to Mars and commercial space travel, China has been quietly, methodically building a lunar program that is not just impressive, it's history-making. And now, they've pulled off some of the most advanced and daring moon missions ever attempted. Let's rewind to 2013. China launched Chang'e 3, named after the Chinese moon goddess, a poetic nod to ancient mythology guiding cutting-edge science. The mission landed a rover called U2, Jade Rabbit, on the moon's near side. It was the first soft landing on the moon in 37 years. No explosions. No crash landings. Just a smooth descent, followed by a rover rolling across the dusty plains. It was a clear signal, China had entered the arena. But they weren't stopping there. Fast forward to January 3, 2019. This is the moment that truly stunned space agencies around the world. Chang'e 4 touched down on the far side of the moon, something no country had ever done before. Why is that a big deal? Because the far side of the moon is essentially radio silent. You can't just call a rover and say, "Hey, how's it going?" The Earth can't communicate directly with it. To make this possible, China had already launched a relay satellite called Qiuqiao, which parked itself in a special position beyond the moon to bounce signals back and forth. This wasn't just an achievement. It was a statement. Technically, politically, scientifically, China had just taken the lead in a new chapter of lunar exploration. And then came Chang'e 5 in December 2020. This one raised the bar yet again. It wasn't just about landing. This mission drilled down into the lunar surface, scooped up rock and soil samples, launched itself back into orbit, and returned those samples to Earth, all autonomously. That hadn't been done since the Soviet lunar missions in the 70s. Nearly 2 kilograms of pristine lunar material arrived on Earth, fresher and geologically younger than anything ever retrieved before. Let that sink in. While the rest of the world was distracted by terrestrial concerns, China quietly pulled off one of the most sophisticated robotic space missions ever attempted, and they brought back pieces of the moon. But here's the real question. What did they actually find up there that's making scientists, and even guys like Joe Rogan, sit up and pay attention? The moon is not what we thought. When China's Chang'e 5 spacecraft parachuted back to Earth in December 2020, it wasn't just carrying rocks and dust. It was carrying answers. Real ones. Tangible, measurable data, not speculation, not guesswork. These were the first lunar samples returned to Earth in over 4 decades, and they came from a region no one had ever sampled before, Mons Rumca, a volcanic formation in the Moon's Oceanus Procellarum region. That location alone was a clue that something different was coming. The first surprise? Age. Scientists expected Moon rocks to be ancient, over 3 billion years old, like those from the Apollo missions. But the samples from Chang'e 5 turned out to be only 1.96 billion years old. That's still incredibly old, but by lunar standards, it's practically youthful. What this revealed is that volcanic activity on the Moon lasted far longer than we thought. Until now, the prevailing belief was that the Moon had cooled and become geologically dead much earlier. China's samples proved otherwise. The Moon, it turns out, had an internal heat source for much longer, which means there's a missing chapter in its story that scientists are now racing to understand. Then came the mineral analysis. Among the crushed rock and dust, researchers identified a new lunar mineral, later named Changesite-Y. It's a phosphate mineral embedded within basalt particles, and while it's microscopic, its presence is massive in terms of scientific value. Not only does it help us understand lunar geology better, it may even point toward helium-3 potential, an isotope that some scientists believe could be used for nuclear fusion in the future. And yes, the question of water, the holy grail of space exploration, wasn't ignored. Instruments on the Chinese orbiter that accompanied Chang'e 5 detected signatures of water molecules on the Moon's surface. More precisely, they found evidence of hydroxyl, a molecule closely related to water, embedded in minerals. While NASA had previously found similar evidence, China's confirmation added weight to the idea that the Moon isn't a bone-dry desert after all.